Bella Networking Guru, and you are tuned in to the Bella Networking Facebook Live show. I know it's a Wednesday, but I'm here in New York and I've got a whammy double. I had a show yesterday, I'm having a show today, and I'm bringing you another show tomorrow. And I'm with my lovely New York guest, Joan, and I'm so happy because she really, really is one of my New York gems that I met when I first came to New York back in 2013. Probably see the wrinkles. I know, where has the time gone?
It's amazing.
Yeah, so I have to say thank you. And to Dana, a big shout out to Dana.
Yes, Dana Humphrey. Shout out to Dana.
Yeah, you guys have been incredible and always welcoming. And I have to say, this is why networking works. That if I'm in London and I even have a question, I can email you and you would respond.
Absolutely.
So I'm so grateful. So without further ado, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Joan Pelzer, and I run a company called Joan Pelzer Social media marketing and engagement, and I'm all about creating relationships, not just connections. And so I do everything from Instagram to Facebook to LinkedIn, all of it. I'm holding my phone because if we don't get too hot because we turned off the air conditioner so that we get the beauty of no sound except for the street, I will take some pictures of us
while we go along.
And we'll do some live social media right here.
Yeah, that's so great.
It's awesome.
So thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to take off my jacket and relax a little.
Yeah.
Get a little comfortable.
Make yourself at home when it's your apartment. And for those that you don't know, I'm actually in Joan's apartment.
Yep.
She's been inviting me for the longest time, but she knows when I'm in New York, I'm all over the place. I'm trying to run around like Carrie Bradshaw in my heels. So,
you are.
So we're going to have a great talk about social media.
Absolutely.
And I love Joan's take. So if you guys have any questions for Joan, please drop a comment in the box. And please,
I'll bring my dog in. He's sitting right here too. Whoops.
And please hit the blue likes, because if you guys don't interact, I don't know if you're watching social media at the show. So many different things to different people. So what does your business service offer?
So I basically do pretty much everything if you need social media. Most people think of social media as completely free, and yes, the platforms can be free, but there's also an advertising component that you would do as well. So I will go in and with someone, I will work on their strategy, training if they want to take this in-house, and implementation, execution, engagement. So it's a monthly. We go in the first month and it's all about setting up the strategy, figuring out who their target market is, where that target market is online, how to speak to them, by what means we're going to use to speak to them, content, and then actually doing the work.
Sure. And you talk a lot about target market. Why is it important to include that in the early strategy to ensure like the right core messages? Why is that important within strategy?
Well, there are a lot of times where a business will come to you and not be crystal clear on who they're speaking with. And until you're crystal clear on who you're speaking with, you don't know where they are or what to say to them. So if I'm with you at one of your wonderful networking events and I'm not sure who you are and how to speak with you, then how effective is that conversation going to be? We're going to spend the whole time figuring it out rather than, okay, let's make it streamlined.
You see, now it makes a lot of sense, because some business owners or entrepreneurs would say they will do their own social media.
Absolutely.
I can do it. So by hiring an expert like yourself, you're able to have the right core messaging.
Absolutely. And this is not to say that an entrepreneur or a company can't do it by themselves. They absolutely can. But are they going to be as effective on a regular basis as bringing someone in would be?
Sure. So as well, we said on a regular basis, when you work with clients, is there a minimum time? Because it takes a while, just like SEO, for things to be apparent in the digital market. So how does it work?
So funny that you brought up SEO too, because most people, when they think SEO, think of some words. And it's so much more than that. Most people, when they think of social media, think, oh, a picture or a post or a video. And it's so much more than that. So yes, you know what? I can go in and work with you for a week or a month, but is it really going to be effective? If I'm working with you for 1 week or 1 month, we're going to start something, and can you continue it? Can you make this into a regular, systematic check-in, your audience, your clients, your all the community that you've created? Are they seeing you on a regular basis? And that's the same thing like with networking. If you show up once and then never go again, they're not going to remember you, and they're not really going to know what to do with you.
Absolutely. So what would you say is a good average time that you really recommend clients to have a campaign or have a
forever?
Yeah.
And I know that sounds so kind of crazy in a way, but I really do mean that. And there are so many different platforms that are coming and going as we speak, like Meetup.com. People don't see it as a social platform, but if you're hosting events on a regular basis, that's a great additional place to put things. So, and that's the kind of things you want someone on the outside to think about. I think you and I once talked about how I hired back a cleaning lady. And I did that because I am not as effective cleaning my apartment as she is, and in less time. So yes, there are times where I'm like, oh, do I really need a cleaning lady? It's really not dirty, even though I do have a dog who I'll bring in shortly. But yes, I do need her on a regular basis, because if she doesn't come for 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and I do it myself, not only will I fall behind, but things build up more, then it takes a lot longer to clean it. And if you've already established a relationship with your audience, let's just call it audience online, because it could be future clients, it could be current clients, it could be target market, it could be a community you've built, for whatever reasons. If you've started to establish that relationship and you're giving them information on a regular basis, they're expecting it, and they'll come back to you as long as you're still giving them information. If you stop, what reason do they have? And
they're probably likely to unsubscribe.
Absolutely.
So you really made a good comparison about adding value, because it's so easy, as I said, for business owners and entrepreneurs to say, I don't need anybody to help me social, I'll do it. But in that comparison,
or your 9-year-old nephew will do
absolutely.
it.
So in a comparison with a cleaning lady, you know, they're taking that added pressure away. They're the expert at it. So those that are hiring you, you're the expert, and they can concentrate building their business or servicing their clients. So I think that's really great.
And it's interesting. So Evelyn is my cleaning lady, and I love her. And I haven't had her for a few weeks now, because I'm like, oh, I need to take a break. And I realized me taking a break from her doing her job way more effectively than me has caused me a lot of stress. It's my dog. I still have a dog, and I'm going to point him out. I keep pointing him out because he's sleeping right next to me. But it's caused me a lot more stress because it takes my time, way longer time, and I'm not as good at it as she is. Plus, there's an added benefit and value to Evelyn that I seem to forget when she's not here. She doesn't just clean my apartment.
She's bringing more value.
She does my laundry.
Wow.
I never asked for it. She does
London?
my laundry. Absolutely. She would love it. She cleans my windows, which in New York City are dirty all the time.
Yeah.
Plus, she folds things way better than I could. And I leave her treats, and she leaves me treats. She's even helped me get ready for an event when she was here at the end of cleaning. So that's what I mean about the creating of a relationship. We have a relationship. She's not just someone, and I'm not just someone to her that's just on a fly-by-night. We have a real relationship.
That's so great. So guys, if you have just tuned in to the BellaNetworking Facebook show, I have my lovely host with me, Joan, and we're talking about her social media business that she's now been running for 4 years. And you touched on relationships. And I know your standard in business. How important is it for you to maintain good relationships with your clients?
Absolutely, positively key. We work with people, and we hang out with people we know, like, and trust. It's the same for me in what I do. I've worked with clients that it didn't quite feel right, but I said yes because of the money. And if it doesn't feel right in the beginning, chances are, I mean, how many of you have relationships in your personal life, relationships in your business life, or in school, where you just know there's something not quite right there, and you move it forward anyway. So those relationships didn't work. But now what I'm trying to really, and sometimes, please, it's hard to figure it out sometimes with just a couple of meetings or a couple of getting to know yous. Almost all my business comes through referral, and people say, I think you two are going to get along.
That's the word.
And that's
to
really
get along.
key. Yes.
Because you've really highlighted that for effective social media strategy, it has to be long term. So it's a bit like the doctor-patient relationship.
Absolutely.
You have to, and I've seen you go to great lengths to make sure you have those relationships. So I have a question that some of our viewers definitely are thinking there, whether you're in London or New York. So there's lots of talk, say on LinkedIn, about should it be paid social media or the paid ads?
Yes.
What's your answer to that question?
It's a very good question, and I will tell
and
you.
if you have an example, that would be so great of a client.
So social media is free, but it's not free. Facebook algorithms mean that you're not getting in front of your entire audience. We see it when we're friends. Like, I don't see everything unless I'm on your page all the time. I won't see you in my news feed. So that's what it's about when it comes to even paid social media. If you're not paying for some ads and boosting posts and things like that on Facebook, on LinkedIn, you won't be seen as much by your audience. And the more you pay, the way more you're seen. You get more than you even give. So I do recommend, depending again on who your target market is and what platform you're on, I recommend doing at least some paid. And it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. The way social media ads work are an auction system. So you are bidding for the same audience as someone else, and you can get very granular, a specific zip code, a specific demographic, that's the likes that these people have, whether it's a woman or a man, are they a certain age, do they live in a certain place, do
and
they do certain things,
as you said. It's all about your target market.
And you can spend less or you can spend more depending on what you want your action to be. And I have so many examples of how this works and how this doesn't work.
Absolutely. And I wonder if you share with the audience the example we were talking about, one of your clients who was a speaker and doing events on LinkedIn.
Yes.
That by building messages and like just following up once on a message, it turned into work.
Absolutely.
I would love for you to share that.
So, and I know you interviewed my very good friend and colleague, Gilbert.
Oh yes,
Abraham.
He was
so
on
shout
yesterday.
out to Gilbert,
Shout out to
the
Gilbert.
LinkedIn guy. I even go to the LinkedIn guy.
Absolutely.
So I do social media. And part of what I do, yes, is LinkedIn and content. And so I have two different clients who have used LinkedIn messaging. So one particular client is someone who she's a speaking and presentation coach. So she wants to do keynotes at conferences in corporate America. She wants to go to all sorts of events, and she trains executives, and she also works as a keynote speaker. She wants to be a paid keynote speaker. So she had met a gentleman at a conference in, I think it was April or May of this past year.
Right.
But she didn't follow up.
Right.
Which, as you know, and this is what you teach with networking, it's all about follow-up. So she thought, oh, I can't go after him. And I said, but why not? You're doing it in a different way. So I said, okay, let's craft some messages and let's message and link with him on LinkedIn, which she did. I'm not kidding. Almost immediately, he wrote back to her, and her messaging was very simple. I did not get to follow up with you, but I'm looking now at my follow-ups, and I'm learning more about how to use LinkedIn. She's expanding her articles and things that she publishes, and I know you're having a conference in the new year. I'd love to be part of it. Almost immediately, he replied, wow, thank you so much for reaching out. I do remember you. Let's talk and send me a proposal for being a keynote. Like, I was even surprised at how quickly it happened, because I thought it could take some time, but it happened immediately for her. I was thrilled. I was so excited for her that it actually worked. And does she need me on a long-term basis? No. Absolutely not. This is something she's now learned to do.
And she can execute
we
herself.
can tweak it as we go along. She can bring me in for a strategy when it gets a little further along, but she's not someone who needs me on a monthly retainer.
Absolutely. So guys, if you've tuned in or you have just joined, you are watching the Bella Networking Facebook live show with my lovely guest from New York, Joan, and we're talking about social media strategy, why the relationships are important, why target market is important. And also, guys, to let you know, yes, I'm in New York, but when I return to London on November the 8th, I'll be a speaker for a NatWest event. So please do check out my bio afterwards, and I would love to see you there. So Joan,
and I got to make sure we book time.
I know, definitely, yes. So Joan, actually, I would love to ask you a question, because I know you are passionate about social media. If you were not working in the social media industry, what job or business or something else would you like to do, or a hobby to turn into a full-time job?
That's probably an easy question. Actually, I'm also a producer and an actor.
Wow.
And it helps with what I'm doing, because when I go live at events for social media, I can help a client directly with interviews and with things like that, and I can speak as a client. I mean, I was with Waterford Wedgwood Royal Dalton for 12 years, and I was on air, Shop NBC and HSN, so I can do those in a corporate type setting in addition to in the acting setting based on my background. So I would say I'd probably produce more, and I also always wanted to, but never wanted to go live in the middle of the country, but I would love to be a newscaster.
Really? Okay. I can actually see that in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
You would be great at that.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
And I'm kind of doing some of it now with radio show
Definitely.
and clients.
Yeah,
so,
that's great.
Yeah.
So before we close the show,
my gosh, this has gone so fast. It's a
told
lot
you.
of fun. I hope you're all having some fun.
I always tell my guests, look, this is a 15-20 minute show.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to the end, they're like, oh my goodness, is it finished? So I do pre-warn you.
It's like, whoa. It's so much to talk about because it's social media and we're being social. I'm going to bring my dog in too so everyone can see him before the end of the show.
So you get an opportunity, Joan, to ask me a question. So your dog and yourself can ask me a networking question.
Well, I have a very good one for you because you're here with me and I made you a cup of coffee.
Right.
But my question to you is, you live in London, but you're in New York a lot. When you meet people, where do you normally meet them when you're doing a little follow-up or networking with someone or a coffee chat? And what do you drink, coffee or tea?
That is a really good question, and it's a humorous question as well, because yes, you know, us Londoners and the Brits, we drink tea.
Yep.
But I tell you what, Joan, I've been a networking guru for almost 10 years. I've never, ever, ever heard anybody ask me, Bella, let's go out for tea. No.
It's always coffee.
Yeah, always.
Even in London.
Absolutely.
Sit down.
But what I would like to highlight
Sit
to
down.
you
He wants
is,
you.
Yeah, I know. What I do need to highlight, and which is really important in terms of making relationships, the follow-up. Now, when you're networking, I do consider that's actually only 20% of the game. The real 80% that comes in the result is that follow-up. So whether or not you call it coffee, tea, cocktails, whatever you call it, the second time you meet that person, that's the most important time. Because when you're in the networking event, it's real busy. So yes, you get the first impression, but you really can't put that first foot forward. It has to happen in the coffee follow-up. So what I say to my clients is, you need to stop going to Costa Coffee and you need to stop going to Starbucks. I'm sorry, because most of those coffee shops are busy. And you're more or less back in a networking event. So this is how I follow up. When I invite you to come to a coffee follow-up, I use hotels. Or I might use a gallery space that has a coffee follow-up, because I want to build a relationship with you. So it's almost inviting you to my home. I need to make you...
Which I did.
Absolutely, yeah. I need to make you as super confident as possible. Not just that, so that you're in a great environment to ask me as many questions, so I can really showcase how I can add value to you and your business. So if it's in a busy environment, we're going to lose focus.
Right.
And not just that, I always see it as a bit like the first date, isn't it? I really do.
It is.
It is. So I'm very particular where I invite you. I may give you a choice of two, but it needs to be somewhere that is a good environment and also somewhere you haven't been before. Because a lot of cases people will say, oh, Bella, is this where you usually have your follow-ups? And I say, yeah, oh, this is a nice place. And not just that, when you invite somebody to a bit more of a better environment, then they can learn a new venue or location to invite their new relationship.
Oh, I like that.
So then, without you knowing, they are subconsciously talking about you as well when they are following up with other new connections.
Okay, I like
so you
that.
keep the ball spinning.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah, go
well,
ahead,
I just did.
yeah.
But
only because you were in New York. You know, the Londoners, I don't always allow them two questions.
Well, we're special. Do you ever do a follow-up with more than one person, or do you only recommend one-to-one?
Do you mean two people?
Like two people, you and two other people?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. Because me personally, especially as a guru, my number one priority is relationship. And it might sound not overconfident, but I know the game and the equation. If I don't build a good relationship with you, you're not going to see my value. And people aren't buying services. So if you're an accountant, website designer, graphics, you're not really buying the service, you are buying me. So if it means that we have a follow-up with two people or three people, I think it's good. And the other reason I think it's good, A, it's going to save you time, but also when you're more in a group setting, another person might ask a question that you may not have thought of.
Yes, absolutely.
And then that helps because I may be able to give my opinions on a networking strategy and they can learn a bit more about me. So with the follow-ups, I do say there do not have to be strict rules and guidelines. I do think the only guideline is where you go, definitely.
I love that. I love that. And it's funny because doing social media, I say I create relationships, not just connections. I love to connect my clients. I bring them to events. I do events with them. I introduce them to people. I have a new client I've only had about a month and a half, and I want so badly to introduce people to them, and I'm trying to keep
extra
that
value. You have to bring that extra value.
And that's why I personally don't think, in what you do is a little bit different, but in what I do, I don't see anybody else as direct competition because you're working with someone you know, like, and trust. If you don't like me and don't want to get to know me, you're not going to hire me.
And I say this all the time. And I also say this why it's so important that in business, you really, really have to have a thick skin.
Yes.
You really do, because this is how it goes.
Absolutely.
Not everybody is going to like you. And you have to learn in business, another person, as you said, or another potential client is buying you of the likability.
Absolutely.
So you can't take it to heart that it's something about my business. That's just the way that it goes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It makes me, I say this all the time, it makes me high when I know that I can connect people that, even if it's just for them to get to know each other, but it really makes me so happy. That's one of the things that totally drives me.
Lovely.
And actually, it's funny because we just got my dog to relax. He's a therapy dog, and I actually met somebody through many people, but Dana, who's our mutual connection, I met her because of my dog.
Oh, lovely.
Like, we both were working on a client together that I met because of my dog. So I brought him in, even though it may seem strange. Why is she bringing her dog into this interview? But because he's a big part of what I do, and I do a lot of work with clients that are in the dog industry, and even if they're not in the dog industry, having him involved somehow, Dana's having him on TV and things, it really does, and it's part of like who I am.
Definitely. So guys, thank you so much if you watch the Bella Networking TV show. And tomorrow I will have a special guest. We'll be talking all things PR for artists, creative, and anybody in the music industry. So Joan, thank you again for watching the show. And as I said, for the London viewers, when I return to London, I have a speaker engagement on the 8th of November. So please do check the bio.